To state the obvious, exercise can either be performed before breakfast, which is in the fasted state, or after meals in the fed state. For the majority of people, the choice of when to train is made for them by being pragmatic about fitting everything busy people need to do in the day, either first thing in the morning, in a lunch break, or after the workday ends. There have actually been a number of studies that have attempted to find the ideal time of day for exercise performance, either in the endurance, the strength, or the power domains. This is, of course, of utmost importance to elite athletes, where the difference between first and last can be milliseconds. But for everyone else, the precise time of day for optimal performance is not a deciding factor when to plan their training sessions. Because of work and family commitments, it's extremely popular to exercise first thing in the morning before the day gets derailed by life, kids, commitments, and obligations that blindside us from every direction, every moment of the day. And the majority of people report to elevated moods after finishing their morning workout before the day gets underway. There is something unique about accomplishing some hard physical work first thing. Tens of thousands of individuals exercise before breakfast and have gone about doing this for centuries. But every now and then a contrarian viewpoint will pop its head up and say, well, actually, if you're a female, you should not exercise in the fasted state, citing either an animal or a mechanistic study, or just a theory that because women have evolved to have a different physiology, fiber type, fuel oxidation ratios, and hormonal profiles, they should therefore have a unique exercise timing requirement. Or put another way, many women have been led to believe that the reason they have not achieved the fitness or body composition goal they are after must be because they followed exercise advice that was studied in men, not women. And because the exercise needs for females are so different to those of men, that explains their results. And exercise timing within the day in relation to meal timing, believe it or not, has become one of these arguments proposed for gender differences needing to be considered. Now, since I'm asked this question on almost a daily basis, it's worth stopping and giving it a more careful and detailed answer, even if the answer seems irrelevant to your lifestyle or just sounds like another unimportant debate entered into by those individuals who can access the internet, who revel in saying the opposite to everyone else just to start an argument. Now, the first question we need to ask when exploring the timing issue is, what kind of exercise are we talking about? Is it low to moderate intensity aerobic exercise, high intensity interval training, sprint interval training, resistance training? And if so, what kind? Is it maximal strength, hypertrophy, power, circuit, rehab, combo sessions, concurrent training, not to mention group, yoga, Pilates, walking, and so on? Secondly, how long does the training session go for? Are we talking about a 20 to 30 minute session? Are we exercising for an hour? Or is it for several hours, such as an endurance session? Do we exercise daily? If so, is every session done fasted, or do you perform some fasted and some not? Thirdly, what is your training status and your body composition goal? Related, is your reproductive stage of life pre or post menopause? Are you lean? Are you fit? Are you obese? Are you sedentary? Fourthly, what is the training goal? Are we aiming to lower fasting blood sugar and improve metabolic health? Or are we trying to maximize muscular output with the goals of improving muscle hypertrophy, strength, or power? Are we trying to improve endurance performance? Or are we aiming to ramp up the cellular signal for mitochondrial biogenesis or increase our fat oxidation capacity by exercising with low carbohydrate availability for extended periods? On that last point, what is your nutritional intake with respect to carbohydrate content? Are we on a high, moderate, or low carb diet, as these affect fuel use during exercise significantly? Finally, are we using any form of exercise to cover body dysmorphia or an eating disorder, and exercising for long periods and then abstaining from eating because we are fasting for health? This is an extremely important discussion to give empathetic consideration to, but not an area that I can comment on here, as there are far many other people who could do a much better job than I. But for the vast majority of people, exercising in the fasted state is to increase fat burning with one goal, to increase body fat loss, as the body clearly oxidizes more fat prior to breakfast than after. Put simply though, we shouldn't confuse the term fat burning with fat loss, as the former describes the substrate used for fat oxidation to fuel muscle contraction, which for most people is 0.2 to 0.4 grams a minute, and the latter is the result of being in prolonged energy deficit. They do not mean the same thing, and this has been repeatedly shown in studies. The timing of exercise in relationship to meals does not appear to have a significant different effect on fat loss. Do you see how complex this gets? Blanket sweeping statements that remove a time of day for exercising females is extraordinarily unhelpful, because you would need to demonstrate robust evidence of a negative effect under every situation that I have just outlined above. Now, to the contrary, in every situation that I've just mentioned, we have an abundance of data to show that exercise exerts a favorable benefit on every organ system of the body. The exercise associations of the world have been proposing a phrase that exercise is medicine. But following some people's logic, that phrase should be amended to only certain types of exercise performed at specific times of day is medicine for females. That's why many exercise physiologists scratch their heads when contrarian viewpoints tell us that everything that we have ever heard about exercise timing is wrong and needs to be gender-based. But yet the extraordinary claims are not matched with extraordinary evidence. To be clear, exercise should be individualized, but broad sweeping statements about exercise timing in proximity to meals does not appear to be an important consideration based on the available evidence. When we are told that females should avoid exercising in the fasted state, to which exercise modality, intensity, duration are we talking about? Is it all of them? And what is the goal we are trying to achieve from the training session? Are we basing the advice to avoid fasted training on acute response data, or from studies that have given participants sufficient time to adapt to a training without the provision of food? The available data suggests that an adaptational period of up to a month might be required, as related studies indicate short-term low carbohydrate or available energy impairs bone turnover, where this has not been observed in longer studies that have been conducted over a long duration. Blanket statements that advise females to avoid exercising in the fasted state because it can affect ovulation are based on either animal studies or extrapolated from prolonged endurance exercise in low carbohydrate and low energy availability status. Studies on males generally show an induced hypogonadal state after prolonged endurance exercise with insufficient access to carbohydrate and energy, which quickly rebounds after energy balance has been restored. And this is in line with the findings from the low energy availability studies on females examining reproductive hormones. This is a situation which is worthy of a detailed discussion, but it's very different to exercise recommendations of a realistic duration of 30 to 60 minutes prior to breakfast on most days of the week that fit within so many females' lifestyles. And I feel that this distinction is not clearly being made to the general public. Other arguments presented to support abstaining from fasted state training are based on extremely simplistic viewpoint of evolution, where women were gatherers and men were hunters. Therefore, the bioenergetic demands, the muscle fiber recruitment, and the oxidative metabolism have profound gender differences. Well, these are all true, but they are not valid reasons for telling females when they should exercise in proximity to meals, as they have no practical or detectably meaningful difference in the real world. There have been a number of studies with female cohorts investigating exercise timing in relation to meals, looking for various performance or health outcomes. This not insignificant body of science indicates that the timing of exercise in relation to meal creates some similar and some different adaptations that are net positive. From a health perspective, it makes sense to do both, perform some sessions before and others after meals, as there appears to be a slight difference in response for some systems. If you're a female and you've been advised to avoid fasted state training, please think big picture and use this checklist provided here to make a personalized choice that works for you, that you can consistently stick to, and not made based on a fear that exercise will actually do your body harm if you exercise before you eat something. Humans are incredibly resilient, and we beautifully adapt to exercise in various conditions. Exercise is medicine, full stop, and not exercise as medicine only after breakfast.